Welcome to this explainer. Today we're going to dive into something incredibly comforting. Because if you're watching this and you're feeling weary, overwhelmed, or honestly just plain tired of how fragile life can be right now, this is for you. We're looking at a deeply powerful ancient text from the book of 1 Peter. It was written directly to struggling people who desperately needed a reason to keep going. So we're going to unpack this timeless comfort found in the concept of a living hope. It's basically an anchor that holds fast no matter how crazy the storms of life get.
But first, think about this. Have you ever poured your absolute heart and soul into something just to watch it completely fall apart? Maybe it was a career you built from the ground up, a relationship you thought was rock solid, or some financial security that just vanished the second the economy took a hit. When we anchor our lives to things on this earth, well, we're basically tying our boats to sinking docks. Life is hard. Things crumble. We all face these daily frustrations, and sometimes really deep, painful losses. And it's exactly in the middle of that very real, very human pain that we need a secure anchor.
So let's dive right into this. The antidote to all that earthly fragility is what the Apostle Peter called a living hope. And what does that actually mean? Well, it means you can have absolute confidence in your present reality, right now, and an unbreakable certainty about your future. And it's all because Jesus Christ lives. Listen, this isn't just wishful thinking. It's not crossing your fingers and hoping for the best. Because the resurrection is a real historical event, your hope is alive. You literally don't have to fear tomorrow because the one who holds tomorrow has already defeated the absolute worst things that death and loss can throw at us.
Peter shows us exactly what this living hope is looking forward to. Just listen to the tender, unshakable promise in these ancient words. To an inheritance incorruptible and undefiled, and that fadeth not away, reserved in heaven for you. You have to remember, Peter is writing to Christians who are suffering terribly. They lost their homes, their jobs, their social status, all just for believing in Jesus. And what does he do? He points their eyes upward. He reminds them of what's coming.
What's really fascinating here is the specific word Peter uses, inheritance. In a lot of cultures, like in the Philippines, for example, where the concept of mana or yamang mana is so deeply ingrained, an inheritance is a really profound thing. Think about it. An inheritance is something a child receives, not because they worked grueling 80-hour weeks to earn it, but simply because they belong to the family. And that is exactly what salvation is. If you're struggling right now, feeling like you just aren't doing enough, or like you have to exhaust yourself to earn God's favor, just breathe. You are a child of God because you've been born again. Your future is completely secured by grace, not by your exhausting efforts.
The Apostle Paul actually hit on this too, and it brilliantly illustrates the depth of that belonging. He wrote in Romans that believers are heirs of God and joint heirs with Christ. Just let that sink in for a second. Because you are His child, you are His heir. Everything, every victory, every glory, every single ounce of eternal security that Christ secured is beautifully and fully yours. You share in His inheritance. It's no wonder the early Christians could face such dark, terrifying times with such radiant confidence.
So the real meat of this passage is found in the four massive promises Peter attaches to this inheritance. Let's look at the first one. It is incorruptible, or as it beautifully translates in Tagalog, hindi nabulok. The original Greek word here paints a picture of something that is absolutely 100% immune to decay, spoiling, or perishing. Remember, Peter was writing to people who had literally just lost all their earthly possessions. He's looking them right in the eye and saying, listen, you may lose everything here, but you can never, ever lose your heavenly inheritance.
Think about the tragic reality of earthly stuff. Cars rust out. Buildings literally crumble to the ground. Flowers wither. Food spoils in the fridge. Imagine finally inheriting the house of your dreams, this beautiful earthly estate. You get the keys, you walk in, and boom, you discover that termites have completely destroyed the foundation. Earthly treasures can literally be eaten away or just disappear overnight. But contrast that with your heavenly inheritance. It never deteriorates. There's absolutely no expiration date. It is permanently perfect.
Jesus actually addressed this exact anxiety we all have about losing our stuff. He wisely instructed, lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt. Jesus is basically giving us the ultimate financial advice here, the absolute safest, most secure investment portfolio you can possibly have. It's not found anywhere on earth, it's in heaven.
Okay, that brings us to the second promise. Your inheritance is undefiled. That means it is completely pure. Nothing sinful has ever touched it. Think about our world right now. Everything on earth is tainted in some way by human imperfection, isn't it?
Governments fail us, systems are corrupt, even our absolute closest relationships can disappoint us. And let's be honest, our own best efforts are flawed because, well, we're imperfect people. But your heavenly home remains completely untouched by the stain of sin.
Just picture the reality of an undefiled heaven for a second. Let this comfort wash over you. In heaven, there will be no temptation, there will be no sickness, no more sitting nervously in hospital waiting rooms, no funerals, no deep, crushing disappointment, no broken fellowship or estranged family members, and no tears. The book of Revelation assures us that nothing that defiles will ever enter there. All the pain of your present struggle, it's going to be permanently gone.
I want to just sit with this quote for a moment from the 19th century writer J.C. Ryle. He said, "Heaven is the only place where holiness is perfect and happiness is complete." Let that peaceful, authoritative assurance really linger in your mind. Perfect holiness and complete happiness. Not that fleeting, temporary joy we get here, but complete, undisturbed happiness.
All right, moving on to the third promise. Your inheritance is unfading. Hindi kumukupas. The imagery Peter uses here actually comes directly from flowers. We've all seen beautiful flowers bloom, right? Radiating color and fragrance. But inevitably, what happens? They lose their color, their petals dry up and fall off, their beauty vanishes. Earthly pleasures are exactly like those flowers. The new car smell always fades. The brand new smartphone that comes outdated in a year. The thrill of a vacation fades right back into the stress of daily life before you even unpack your bags. But the beauty, the joy, and the glory of your heavenly inheritance, that will never, ever diminish.
Augustine really hit the nail on the head here when he said our hearts are restless until they find their rest in you. It perfectly captures human nature. Have you ever bought something you were incredibly excited about, only to find yourself completely bored with it a few weeks later? That happens because literally nothing on this earth was designed to permanently satisfy the human heart. Ultimately, your heart isn't just longing for a mansion in the sky, your heart is longing for the unfading, permanent presence of Jesus Christ himself. And millions of years from now, the joy of being with him will be just as vibrant as day one.
And that brings us to the fourth and, honestly, maybe the most comforting promise of the whole shebang: reserved. Your inheritance is actively guarded. It's kept perfectly safe, and it's preserved. It isn't just sitting out there unguarded. God himself is watching over it for you.
To understand how powerful this is, let's think about a super frustrating modern experience. Have you ever booked a hotel months in advance for a much-needed vacation, only to show up at the front desk and be told, "Sorry, we have no record of your reservation"? Or worse, they gave your room to someone else? Human guarantees fail all the time. When we rely on earthly reservations, we are always vulnerable to human error and broken systems.
But God's reservations, they never fail. Your heavenly inheritance has your specific name on it. It cannot be stolen by thieves or canceled by some computer glitch. It is entirely immune to stock market crashes and economic collapse. It is completely safe from government confiscation. And it is absolutely untouchable by the devil. Why? Because it is kept in the absolute safest place imaginable, in the very presence of Almighty God himself.
So as we bring all of this together, let's be clear. Having retirement plans, investing wisely, buying property, putting money in savings, these are all really wise, responsible things to do while we live on this earth. But we must never confuse the temporary with the eternal. Earthly things can be lost. Your greatest treasure, the ultimate security for your soul, is already secured by Christ. It is waiting for you in heaven, untouchable and perfect.
Which brings us to one final, deeply personal question. Where is your treasure? Where are you dropping your anchor today? If you're weary, if you're struggling, let the living hope of Jesus Christ lift your eyes. Shift your perspective from the temporary things that fade and break, and anchor your heart in the incorruptible, undefiled, unfading, and reserved inheritance that is waiting for you. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep your hope alive, and I'll see you next time.